The Erik Karlsson trade was looking to be the big move of the offseason. A lot of people counted the Penguins out on the fact that they didn't have a lot of trade capital, but yet Kyle Dubas still managed to get it done. When this offseason started, Penguin fans weren't filled with much hope. Ron Hextall and the previous regime really messed up a lot of things. All that worry stopped when the previous regime all got fired, and then Kyle Dubas was brought in shortly after. Since he's gone here, he's laid out his plan perfectly and has been very open and honest with media, which was the exact opposite way of the previous regime, and it's really refreshing to see it happen in Pittsburgh. The Penguins have desperately needed a good puck-moving defenseman besides Letang. We saw this issue come to light especially last trade deadline when Mike Sullivan was trying to get Ron Hextall to acquire Jacob Chychrun. Once Chychrun was traded, a lot of people were mad at Hextall because the trade easily could have been accomplished by the Penguins, and yet he sat on his hands and chose to do nothing. This offseason though, all those past worries got washed away. This new regime seems like they really know what they're doing, and they've brought in a bunch of new players and have really reshaped the team. The real question is will all the moves be enough? Last season was the first time in 16 years that the Penguins have missed the playoffs. The bottom six for the Penguins looks almost completely different than it did in the very final game of the regular season last year. The defense got a good overhaul too, as Ryan Graves was brought in from free agency, and then Jeff Preachy was shipped out in the Erik Karlsson trade, as well as just Erik Karlsson coming in general. The goaltending also got a little bit of a shakeup as Jari signed an extension, but Casey DeSmith was moved out and they brought in Alex Nedeljkovic to be the backup this year. Another notable move that Dubas has made in his short time was bringing in Riley Smith for a third-round pick. He'll replace the output that Jason Zucker provided the team last year, and maybe then some. All these moves sound great on paper, but what I think this season is going to come down to most is Mike Sullivan. He's shown in seasons past that he still has it, and all he needs is to get the team playing his style of hockey. The players that are brought in play his style of hockey perfectly, and I think it'll be a really good fit this year. The past couple seasons, Ron Hextall was bringing in guys that were slower and didn't play a skill game. Dubas decided to go out and grab those skill guys that have a little bit of speed, and that's exactly the style of game that Mike Sullivan likes to play. That's how we saw him win the back-to-back cups in Pittsburgh, and I think this year will be a really good year to revitalize what he had in Pittsburgh. On top of all that, I'm just excited to watch Erik Karlsson play for the Penguins this year. Karlsson would have led the Penguins in points last year if he had played with them, as Crosby had the team lead at 93 and Erik Karlsson had the first 100-point season since the 90s for a defenseman. I really do think that having him on the team is really going to help boost the team's overall offensive production. It would be amazing to see Crosby get a 100-point season at a very late age. In previous seasons, Malkin would always get the second pairing defenseman because Letang would always go out with the first line. But now that the Penguins have Karlsson, Malkin's always going to be on the ice with one of Letang or Karlsson, and I really do think that it's going to help his offensive production. Let's take a dive into how the team looks this year. The first line looks the exact same as last year with Gensel, Crosby, and Raquel. The second line looks a little different with Riley Smith on left wing, Malkin, and then Rust. The third line though is when the big changes really start to get noticed. Drew O'Connor, Lars Eller, and then Jeff Carter. For most of last season, we saw Jeff Carter centering this line, and it was an absolute disaster. Father Time finally caught up to Jeff Carter, and it seems like his time in the NHL has run out. O'Connor and Eller are very solid players though, and hopefully this will help this line be a lot more defensively sound. The thing that's been killing the bottom six the past 2 years was how bad they've been defensively. They haven't been able to stop pucks going in, and they just couldn't score. And then when we look at the fourth line, we have Matt Nieto, Rem Pitlick, and Noel Acciari. Pitlick has a good scoring touch but struggles to make offense on his own. Matt Nieto will help that solid defensive game that the Penguins are trying to get back to in the bottom six. Noel Acciari is an absolute wrecking ball and will be a really good battery for that line. Acciari's never afraid to throw his body around, and that's something that's really going to help that line out a lot. The thing that's even better is now they actually have depth because of Dubas. If one of those forwards aren't working out, that's okay. They have extras to throw in. Alex Nylander will be good to jump in and can provide offense. Same thing goes with Andreas Janssen. Those two will be good extras to have and will really help the team out later on in the year when injuries happen. Now if we look at the defense, we can see the big changes that happen. We have Ryan Graves on the left side with Chris Letang on the right. Then the second pairing will be Marcus Pettersson and Erik Karlsson, the Swede duo. POJ and Chad Ruhwedel will be the third pairing defenseman for the Penguins. It's a little weak, but I still think that they're very valuable in the NHL and will get the job done. The top four D-men, though, are really going to transform the Penguins from anything they've had in a very recent memory. Ryan Graves is a really big add, and he'll help Letang's game a lot. And then it's just Erik Karlsson, one of the best to ever do it, and he gets to lace it up for the Penguins this year. Even if he doesn't quite put up 100 points like he did last year, he's still going to be the best offensive defenseman that the Penguins had, and it's going to be so fun to watch. A big issue last year was the goaltending that the Penguins got. Jari kept dealing with a long-term nagging injury that he couldn't quite seem to shake, and it really affected him as the season went on. When he was called upon, Casey DeSmith really struggled as his role as a starter, and that was part of the reason why he was shipped out from Pittsburgh. Because Jari was fighting so many injuries last year, he was struggling in the games he was playing too. I was at the infamous loss to the Blackhawks last year that caused the big butterfly effect in the NHL, and that last goal that he let in to Andre Athanasiou really was bad. When Jari's on his game, there's not many in the NHL that can do it much better than him, but when he's hurt, he's not very good at all. I'm hoping that if Jari's injury struggles continue, Nedeljkovic is able to find some of that early Carolina magic that he had. He might have struggled in Detroit, but many people forgot that he was a Calder finalist in his first year in the NHL. But also, just like the forwards, they also have some extras here that can help them. On defense, they have the likes of Ty Smith and Will Butcher. Ty Smith is too good to be playing in the AHL, but they haven't quite found a spot for him in the lineup just yet. Will Butcher had a great rookie season with the Devils a couple seasons ago, but since then has struggled to find a spot in the league. Hopefully he's able to find some of that magic again for the Penguins. Magnus Hellberg should be a good third-string goalie for the Penguins. When relied upon in Detroit, he was very solid, so hopefully he'll continue the same in Pittsburgh. I really do think that this is the best Penguins lineup that we've seen in recent time. The past couple years have shown us that it's not always good to rely on those heavy, hard-hitting forwards because they don't produce offensively a lot. Going back to that Mike Sullivan style of hockey should really help this team, and Kyle Dubas is the one to thank. Many people thought that dark days were ahead for the Penguins at the end of the regular season, and then Dubas came in and completely flipped everyone's expectations upside down. He's been way better than advertised so far, and he's been so refreshing to see in Pittsburgh, and I can't wait to see what he does next for the Penguins. Even if Kyle decides to not do anything for the rest of the offseason, I think this offseason's already been an A+ in my books. The Penguins have gone a lot better defensively, offensively, and they added a lot more depth throughout their lineup and in the AHL, which is very good to have. Now the only thing left to do is just wait for October to come and wait for that first puck drop against the Blackhawks. As a Penguins fan, this is the most excited I've been in a long time, probably since 2018. I really do think that Erik Karlsson helps bring a new dimension to this team, and I really hope that he can help the Penguins get it done this year. I want to see him get one more cup and watch the Big Three get another, because they truly do deserve it for the amazing careers that they've had. I hope when that first puck gets dropped this season, you're there watching it with me. This season's going to be a wild ride, and I can't wait to watch it. If you made it this far into the video, make sure you hit that like button. And while you're down there, consider hitting the subscribe button. I'm so close to 200 subscribers, and it will really help me out if you subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.